It's live. There you go.
Oh, it says an error occurred for... Okay, so we're live. I think we just have a few of the different platforms that are trying to connect. So it looks like we're connected on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Let's try and get LinkedIn going here. Let's see. If LinkedIn won't work for us, then we'll just we'll repost it on there another time. Oh, there we go. Okay, LinkedIn's working now. I think it just needed a second to connect.
Cool.
Okay, we'll let people start trickling in. Hi, Joel. Usually you would see Joel leading these sessions. We've hijacked it from him this time. What'd you say?
It's mine now.
It's yours now, yeah. If you're missing Joel, don't worry. He'll be back in a few weeks for a webinar on the role of orchestration and composability. So his face will be back again very soon. For those of you who don't know, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Brendan, if we haven't met already. I'm the support and enablement manager for Agility. So essentially, I triage your support requests as they come in, manage and maintain our resource centers, as well as manage our client onboarding.
Beautiful. And I'm Harmonie, Senior Marketing Manager here at Agility. Brendan's really going to be steering the ship today. I'm just here to make sure that all of our points go smoothly and all of our destinations are working across all of our channels. So Brendan, why don't you take it from here and let us know what layouts and layout management is all about?
Yeah, so welcome to our webinar on a lesson on layouts. So layout management, essentially, it's going to be the management and organization of the sitemap for your site or digital solution within Agility. So that's going to look like the layouts that live within your sitemap, any folders and structure for organization, any external links that you add. All of that is considered part of your layout management. In previous iterations of Agility, this would have been referred to as your page management. And the reason that we kind of switched from pages to layouts is that, well, more often than not, you may have a layout representing a page on your website. There are often times where layouts can be used for any other number of things, including representing layout for a kiosk display, or maybe a restaurant menu, or something like that. Any sort of digital display or solution can be represented through a layout on your website and in Agility.
Yeah, perfect. And I think another big reason we kind of changed the verbiage around it is, we had a lot of current and prospective customers asking about us being MACH compliant, being part of the MACH Alliance. And as we were going through some of that process, we realized that a lot of people in the industry saw pages and page management as a non-headless feature. And obviously to be MACH compliant, you need to be headless. And so just so that we can communicate with the community properly, we kind of changed that a little bit, just so that we're making sure that people understand that we are fully headless and we are part of the MACH Alliance now. And really the benefit of the layout management and where we differentiate ourselves in the industry is that our layouts are pre-built. It's part of our actual content management system. And we're the only ones that really do it this way. And we want the content and design to be able to communicate and speak to each other. We just make it a little bit more accessible for editors to go in and actually manage all their content by themselves without having to rely on developers just to build those pages, whether it's, for a kiosk, for a website, whatever it is. It just makes it a little bit easier for them to do it. So why don't you walk us through some of the layout management, Brendan?
Sure. Let me share my screen and we'll do a quick walk through the layout section in Agility.
There you go.
Perfect. All right. So when you first come to the layout section in Agility, you're going to be greeted by this dashboard here. And this layouts area, first thing you're going to notice is that you have the recent changes that have been made to layouts on your site and within your instance, as well as the current state of those layouts and who they were modified by and when. And on the right-hand side, you can see a general overview as well of the layouts that exist in your instance and their current state and how many exist in each state. On the left-hand side here, you'll see the name of the sitemap that you're currently on within your instance. And at the top here, if you have multiple locales that you're working with, this will actually be a drop down where you can switch between them. Below that, we have the option to add a new layout to your site, which we'll take a look at in a second. And in this little drop down here, you have the option to add a folder for better sitemap management. And you can also actually add an external link here to your sitemap as well. And all you have to include here is the text you want displayed within your sitemap or within your menu, the name of the link that you're including, and where you want that to redirect to. And that can be to a layout that already exists within your instance, or it can be to an external link. Here you've got a way to quickly filter the layouts that exist within your instance. So we have our global search at the top here, which is going to search everything that exists in your instance. This will let you filter just your layouts. And below that, you'll have your actual sitemap that you can drop down here and expand each item to see the child pages that live below them. You may have multiple sitemaps as well, in which case you'll see your other sitemaps listed below here. In this case, we just have the one. And at the bottom, one change in our new UI is that our URL redirections used to live in our site settings. And now you'll find them here. Makes more sense. You're managing your layouts, need to manage any redirections for those layouts. So they'll be right here at the bottom of your sidebar. And you can go in here to quickly add a new redirection. All you need is your origin URL, where it's going, whether it's permanent or temporary. And if you need to test them at all, you can also select them and test them right here within your instance. Now to create a new layout, all you're going to do is go up here and click Add Layout and choose your layout model. Most of the time, you're just going to have a single layout model that you're working with, as you really only need one zone to drag and drop your components into, though you may encounter some templates where you have more than one content zone. One example of that would be if you have a website where you have a main content zone that you want to differentiate from, say, a sidebar content zone that would have separate components added to it. So we'll go ahead and add a new layout model here, add a layout title. And we'll hit save, and this is going to generate the new layout for us to work with. There we go. As you can see, because I was on the new section, because I added a new layout, it's going to add that as a child to to my existing news layout. So that'll appear below news within the sitemap. And if I wanted to add a new parent layout, then I would just do that from the main layout section here, and it would add it below home, news, etc. So while we're building a layout, we'll go through the different sections here on the right-hand side that you have to work with. So we have our properties where you can switch back and forth between static, dynamic, or if you want to switch it to a folder or a link. We have the model that the current layout is using. Below that, you have the option to enable approvals for this layout if you want to add a secondary approval step before any content is pushed out to your live digital solution. The option to make this a secure layout on the website or exclude it from the layout cache. Then we have some general information for your layout below that, including the URL, layout and version IDs, the current state, who it was modified by and when, and any release or pull date if one has been set for that layout. The next tab we'll look at is the SEO tab. So here's where you can edit your layout title, your layout path, any menu text for your layout and how it will appear in your sitemap. Whether or not you want the sitemap visible on your menu, or rather whether you want this layout visible on your site menu, and whether you want it visible in the sitemap that's shared with search engines. And below that, you have your meta tags, meta keywords, description, and additional header markup if necessary. And the very top one here is your activity feed. So we'll have some changes coming to this in the near future, which are really exciting. But as it stands right now, your activity feed will show any comments that have been left on here by other people who might have worked in the layout, where you can add comments if you want to add some context for changes that you might have made, and also see previous versions of the layout that you're working on. So you can always select it. You can view the different versions and revert back to a previous version if necessary. Below here, we can see the option to add components. So this is where we're actually going to drag and drop components to our layout in order to build and organize that layout the way that we want. So here you have your components library. You can search if you want to filter through them. And your components will have been defined and added by a developer or content architecture in advance. So if any changes need to be made to a component or you need any updates made to them, you would need to reach out to a developer to have that done, as there has to be code that exists on the front end in order for these components to actually be displayed once they're added. So as an example here, we have a text block with image. So we can just drag and drop that over here, and it's automatically going to add that component to our layout. And below the title of the component, you can also see a context description as well. That'll give you a little bit more information as to what this is going to give you when you add it to your layout. Once your component's added, you can drag and drop them here to reorganize them in whatever order you want. And to add content to that component, you just click on it, click into it, and it's going to act like a content item in the sense that it has various fields that have been defined for you as a content editor to fill out. So in this example, we have a tagline. We can add one here, and then we can add in a title. You can double click to see previous titles that you might have added or add a new one. We'll call this just Layout Webinar. Below that, we would have the option in this specific component to add an asset. So we can browse our existing assets here, or we could upload a new one if we wanted. So we'll just go in here, add an existing logo that we have, and add the selected item, add in some alt text. What a cool bus. And then here we have the option that's been designated for us to have the image appear on the right or left-hand side of the text that we're adding. Next, we'd have the option to add a primary button or call to action. So we could add a button if we wanted to, designate which link or URL we want that button to go to and what we want the button to say, and whether or not we want it to open in a new window. The next thing we have is a rich text editor where we can add some content. And once that's done, you can go ahead and hit save. And as long as previews have been set up in your instance, which we highly recommend, you would have the option to click the drop down there and go ahead and preview what that's going to look like on your site before you actually publish it and push those out to your website. Once you've previewed it and you're happy with how it looks, you'll be able to go ahead and hit publish. And you have the option here as well if you want to schedule a release date as to when you want that to go out. Maybe it's a press release, something like that you want to go out at a specific date. You can schedule that here, as well as add in an expiry date for when you want that layout to automatically be unpublished and come down. Otherwise, you can just go ahead, hit publish, and it will publish that to your website for you. One thing we would note is in the top right here, we do have a few other properties in this 3-dot menu item that you can see here. So you can also actually access the option to schedule your pages in the top right here as well. Add security for your pages, manage the alerts. You do have the option, or sorry, I should say layouts. Still switching back and forth between that old terminology. And then you have the option to copy a layout as well if you want to duplicate it and then edit that content rather than having to remake an entire layout, as well as the option to delete a layout. And I would stress being careful when deleting a layout. Unlike content items and assets, we don't have a recycle bin for layouts. So when a layout is deleted, it is deleted and you aren't able to recover it in the instance. But if, for example, you delete something super important by mistake, you can always reach out to support and we can see if that's something that we can recover for you. All right, and I believe that covers the gist of our layouts and what we wanted to cover here. Does anybody have any questions in the chat about like how layouts work? Is there anything I didn't cover that you might want to cover or refer to quick?
Did you see that comment that just came into the chat there?
I did.
Perfect.
The versioning feature is super helpful, and I'm really excited about the live collaboration. I don't know if I'm even allowed to say that we have coming out in the near future.
We just released a press release yesterday,
so
you can give a little.
Yeah, put it out. That's going to really change the way that we handle versioning, as well as how we handle commenting. You'll be able to actually see people interacting live within the layout that you're working on, interact with them with comments, and see previous versions as well there.
Brenda, did you see Ben's comment? I'm not sure.
There we go. When this component comes to developers, are they able to target these properties and change them, or are they fixed? For instance, if a component's position is marked as right, can a developer set this dynamically for different devices? Yeah, so basically as a developer, when you're creating a component, you have the ability to display those components in any way you want on the front end when you're pulling them from the Agility API. So any changes that you want to make, you'd be able to edit that component yourself if you need to make changes to it within Agility. And then you could also designate on the front end how you wanted those items to be displayed when you pull them to your site or solution. Yeah, great question. Were there any other questions at all about layouts while we're here?
We'll give people a second to drop some questions in.
Sure.
Yeah, I think some of my favorite things that I had with layout management when I first came onto the team was really being able to like copy different layouts for different landing pages. I run a bunch of our, ads or whatever, different campaigns, and being able to like copy 4 or 5 different variations and just have little tweaks that are so easy to assess, and all the different SEO tabs as well. I've had worked with, the traditional CMSs or the more DXP versions where, if you're running a smaller website, then you can still get the job done. But as soon as you start to scale, you really start to like developer heavy content. And as somebody who needs to change SEO constantly, because I call it a constant battle against the Google algorithm. You have to constantly go in and update. I update our content, our SEO daily, sometimes a couple times a day, just doing optimizations and really eliminating that workflow of having to go to the dev team and constantly be like, hey, can you make a small adjustment to the alt tag? Saves me so much time.
100%. Oh, apologies if you have covered this, was late joining. Welcome. Glad you're here. What tech are you using to actually render the content on the website, presumably from Agility APIs? Or more apologies if you are not covering this in this session. So I don't personally have a lot of insight into the tech side of how things are handled on the front end. I mostly cover and manage content editing, that kind of thing. But typically with the instance that I'm playing with now and kind of demoing, we're essentially just using a Vercel deployment set up directly through Agility, which is just the easiest way to set it up and get going. You can set up a Vercel deployment directly from your settings and use that to be able to preview and see your live layouts as you're making changes. So that's what we're currently using here. But yeah, as Joel said in the comments there, you can use any tech that you want. That's just what we're using for the demo that we're doing today.
Perfect. Well, if we don't have any other questions, that's a great question, Dave. I think we can start to wrap it up. I did post in the chat where you can go to start your own Agility instance, and always feel free to reach out to any of us if you need any assistance. Our support email is support@agilitycms.com. Is that correct?
That's it. You can even just use the chat directly within your instance, which will reach out to me as well. And I also would stress joining our community Slack if you haven't already, which you can do from our website, where we can chat. You can talk to other community members about questions on development you might have, as well as reach out to our support there on our community support channel.
Perfect. And I've also posted our next webinar is going to be on December 7th. Just to reiterate, it's about the role of orchestration and composability. We're going to have some really great guests from the Mock Alliance join us. It should be a really great discussion. So I hope to see you all there, and we'll see you again soon.
All right. Thanks so much for coming out, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.